Welcome to my channel! Today I get to launch my channel, The World of M, for me. That's what I do. So here's the thing. I've been wanting to do a YouTube channel for years now, and anyone that knows me knows I have a lot of things that I'm very passionate and interested in. So, to make it easier on you, the audience, I'm going to separate my passions into 3 different categories. When you tune into my channel and subscribe, you'll be able to see a show called World of Mystery, where we cover the greatest mysteries on Earth. I know a lot of my family and friends out there are the smartest people in the world, and just like they used to say in Unsolved Mysteries, the old one, the good one, not the Netflix one, maybe you can help solve a mystery. The next show will be by my alter ego, Miss Maria Cristina Maron. She's going to talk to you about all things pop culture. So that's art, music, film, cooking. We already have people lined up. They want to do cooking on the show. I can't wait. We're going to start this all off with Poli-Why. All things politics and why you should care. Roll credits. Welcome to Poli-Why. I'm your host, Mario Brown. So, why politics? Well, seeing the struggle of ordinary people try to break through. You see, it's easy when your family understands politics and you have a network that you can build on. You can just call in favors for your friends and suddenly, you have a real campaign. But if you're just someone living in an apartment with 3 kids, you're probably thinking, how am I going to survive the week? You're not thinking, how am I going to run for office? Unfortunately, due to the infrastructure of our country, it sets certain people up to succeed in politics and certain people up to fail. So now, approaching the second half of my life, I want to see if I can kind of right some of those scales a little bit. I want to take everything I learned in 32 years and give it to you so that you have a chance to break through. So if you are unestablished, if you're brand new, if you're a person of color, if you're LGBTQ, or if you're a woman and you feel like you're not having your voice heard, I hope you like and subscribe to this channel. My primary job right now in politics is I am a campaign consultant. A campaign consultant is a person who basically helps advise candidates to get their message across to the voters. I'm advising you to help you tell your story. So, to give you an idea, I'm going to tell my story. For someone that was born into a regular middle-class military family, I've been so lucky. I have both had paid gigs in politics and I have created and been a part of some great volunteer organizations. Some of the highlights are I've got to work closely with 2 of my preferred presidential candidates. The first time ever was when I was the paid staffer as the volunteer recruiter and trainer for Gore 2000 in Nevada. And I got to work in the offices next to Roy Reid and Harry Reid, who was then the leader of the U.S. Senate. And then in 2016, a friend of mine called me over and says, I'm starting a organization, which I thought would just be a Facebook page. And he goes, I'm going to call it Washington for Bernie Sanders. And I want you to run it. And I said, well, compliments get you everywhere. All right, let's do this. I had actually, most people don't know this, I had been a part of a team called Run, Warn, Run, where I would gather with a bunch of other people who share my views. And we would write letters to Senator Elizabeth Warren asking her to run. But she didn't run that year, so when my friend called me and said, well, I want to start Washington for Bernie Sanders, I said, I'm all in. And I got to meet Bernie Sanders, and I got to see the crowds and how he inspired people of all ages. A lot of people don't get to do that. And like I said, I'm just some guy that was born in Idaho to a dad in the Air Force. But we keep going, and we get to see if we can make change in our time here on Earth. Some of the highlights include being able to be a consultant for Cyrus Habib in his historic run for Washington's lieutenant governor, Pramila Jayapal in her first and historic race for U.S. Congress, and I got to work with Fred Fellerman, who was the most environmentally friendly candidate for Seattle Port, and now he's a port commissioner. I'm proud that I was able to give voice to Black and brown people to LGBTQ people and to women candidates who other people wrote off simply because they couldn't raise enough money. So for PoliWhy, I want to talk to everybody. I want to talk to potential candidates, current candidates, people that need advice, people that want to run and have questions all around the country, because I have a network all around the country. I also want to tell stories from the campaign trail. If you're a black or brown candidate, a woman candidate, an LGBTQ candidate, but specifically a new candidate, because you can be those things and still be established. But if you're a new candidate and you're struggling, tell me your story. Let me help elevate what's going on with you so that we can kind of get new, different blood into our halls of government. I also am going to use PoliWhy to talk to you about some of the latest things that are going on in the news and politics. We're going to start with the most important issue of right now, the stimulus package. What's going on? First of all, full disclosure, disclaimer time. My degree's in psychology. It's not in economics. And I find that useful in politics. But, you gotta understand the issues and policy as well. Secondly, I want my channel, above all, to be something that people can find fun. I want them to enjoy the content. I don't want this to be a school lesson that you feel like you're gonna have to study and take a test. So, for those that wanna know specific details, there'll be links in the description box below. For those that just want to watch and get a basic understanding, I want to talk kind of in real talk so that we can kind of get to the heart of issues and have that discussion. Starting with the stimulus package. As you know, our economy is in trouble. Millions of people find themselves unemployed through no fault of their own. And the government has been helping to a degree, but the problem hasn't been solved. When there are millions of people unemployed and the actual numbers of jobs are going down, how are you expecting someone to find work? We actually need the government. Now, we need the government on a daily basis all the time, right? But what is government in America specifically? In America, government is all of us together doing what one of us can't do on our own. Well, one of us can't fix the economy on our own. One of us can't ensure that we're employed on our own. But what we can do as a government, as a collection, as a unit, is help the people here. That's why I want us to pass this stimulus. Us. Notice I say us, because the people in Washington, D.C. are our voices. The government is not some separate entity that just happens to us. And the job of the government is to protect the American people from all threats, foreign and domestic. Well, we have a real economic threat right now. We have people that don't know how they're going to pay their bills. And it's a cascading effect. It's a problem that goes down the line and makes things worse and worse and worse. If a person can't pay their bills, then the people that rely on those bills being paid to pay their bills can't pay their bills. The only entity strong enough to help fix it is the United States government, which means we are the ones who can fix this problem. So what's going on? Right now, congressional Democrats and congressional Republicans cannot seem to find consensus on how to help. They both want to do a stimulus package, but they're separated by trillions of dollars. And everyone has their reasons. And while the reasons are valid from their point of view, the truth is, the longer they delay, the harder it is on the people they supposedly are trying to protect. Us. So, we need to convey to them that they must act. And this should not be partisan. Okay? Remember, this is us. This is our lives. This is our government. So, they need to pass a stimulus. So here's what I'm going to do. The other thing that I'm excited for PoliWhy is that not only am I going to tell you what's going on, not only am I going to bring to you candidates that are running, talk about issues that are important, but I also want you to have a takeaway that empowers you. And the takeaway right now is no stimulus, no vote. Why do I say that? Well, as a Democrat, we just got done with the Democratic National Convention. I haven't had a chance to watch the speeches yet, but that's mostly because I'm not the target audience. I've known how I'm going to vote. I mean, you could say for a year, 2 years, 5 years, 30 years. I've never not voted for a Democratic candidate for president. So, I don't need speeches to inspire me to vote. I'm going to vote. In fact, next episode, we're going to talk about Biden-Harris and my thoughts on that specific ticket and why it matters to you and what you can do to empower yourself to make sure the ticket works for you. But we'll get to that next week. For right now, what I can tell you is you only spend millions of dollars on a TV show that lasts for 4 days if you're trying to convince people to vote. And therein lies your power. Vote. If you've ever felt like your elected officials don't listen to you, or no one cares, or nothing gets any better, it's probably because elected officials like to listen to the people that help them win elections. That's just the truth. That's, as my friends would say, the tea. When you're in a community or a pocket or a subgroup in America that doesn't vote at a regular rate, you diminish your influence over these elected officials. I'm telling you, you don't need to be a big-time donor. You don't need a PAC. You don't need any of these things to influence elected officials, because you already have power with your vote. It may not feel like it, but it's true. And if you want to test it, call your congressperson when you see this video and say, if you don't vote for a stimulus package this week, you will not get a vote in November. Imagine if 100 million people do that. Now, some of my friends will be like, how can you? We got to win this election. We're Democrats. We need a new president. My hope, my goal is that they understand that they need to hear us right now. So I'm not saying this out of anger or even out of kind of a threat. I'm trying to say we're dead serious. We need help. We need help right now. And you can do something right now. That is literally why you are there. You're asking for our vote. We're asking for your help. I think that's fair. If you think that's fair, like, subscribe, share this video. If you don't think that's fair, feel free to tell me why in the comments below. Just keep it classy. I'm not scared of any comments. I love to hear from all people, because how am I going to learn if I only listen to people that agree with me? But, you know, as my dad used to say, don't show your ignorance, right? You're responsible for the energy you put out in the universe. So you can disagree, but you don't have to be ugly. So what are some of the common reasons people are scared to spend $3 trillion? Okay, first of all, you might have the deficit. I understand that we don't want to run massive deficits. We don't want to run massive deficits into perpetuity. But I think that most folks don't realize what our actual national debt is. So if you're one of the folks out there saying, I don't think that Congress should spend $3 trillion on the American people, first of all, why wouldn't you? I mean, that's what else? If they don't spend it on us, they're spending on someone else. That makes no sense. But if you're one of those folks who's scared of deficit, I got some facts for you. Fact number one, with the exception of a few years under Andrew Jackson, the United States of America has always had a giant national debt. Always. From the 1700s on. And yet we still became the most powerful country in the world. That right there says that we can be good, we can be strong, and we can still have a debt. Okay? Secondly, a lot of people think, well, you know, we can't run a debt because we're going to end up owing China, and then China's going to, I guess, come in and take our houses or something. I don't know what happens if we don't pay the debt, to be honest about it. How do you collect? You know what I mean? It's like we're a country with bombs. But how do you collect, right? And you know, again, I'm making light. There are obviously some economic factors and inflation factors and the value of the dollar versus foreign currency. I got all that. I'm not here to teach a lesson on economics. What I'm trying to say is practicality for right now. A lot of people think that most of the debt might be held by China or other foreign entities. And I'm here to tell you that's actually not true. According to the U.S. Treasury, of the $26 trillion that is owed, just under $7 trillion is actually owed to foreign nations. Of that $7 trillion, just over $1 trillion is owed to China. So of the $26 trillion, $7 trillion is owed to foreign countries, and just over $1 trillion right there, I don't know if you can see that, is owed to China. So no, it's going into debt isn't going to mean China's going to own the United States. So where does the other $20 trillion go to? Who do we actually owe? That's 77% of the U.S. debt. And the truth is, it's owed to us. You can see the complete breakdown at thebalance.com, not sponsored, but it's an easy way to check out the debt and how that works in the United States. But know this, the vast majority of the debt that the United States holds is actually indebted to us, the American people. And how does that work? Just imagine, Social Security is a promise to you. And a promise to you is kind of like a promissory note. We'll say that. So if I give you a promissory note saying when you retire, I'll be able to pay you a certain amount every month, I'm now indebted to you. So what they're calculating, what they're running, is if all of us retire, or when, I should say, all of us retire. Can the government actually be able to pay everyone what they promised? That's the vast majority of the US debt. So if we have to go into more debt, which we will, to pay for the stimulus package, what we're actually talking about is borrowing money from ourselves. Politicians will say it's from our kids. It's actually more from our elders, because the baby boomers and the generations that are coming up will age. I would hope we're not borrowing from our kids, because I hope we get Social Security right by the time our kids actually need it. But we're actually up against a cliff of a lot of people are going to start collecting, and we haven't, I'm going to say the word taxes. We haven't taxed the population enough to cover what we've promised our seniors. That's where we're at. That's the debt. And yes, that will have to be dealt with, and there's a lot of good ways we can deal with it that won't hurt poor people or even middle-class people. You know, we'll all have to pay more, but there's a way to, there's a way that math can work so that we take care of it. We just haven't been doing the hard work yet. But I'm getting off the subject. Back to what I want to talk about, which is right now. Those things will have to be dealt with, but right now we are facing a crisis, and only the federal government has the power to help. Now, you might have heard this argument a lot when people are talking about the government and debt. And they'll say, well, in my family, in my house, we have to balance our checkbook. Why won't the government? Yes and no. So first of all, you have to understand the government is not a house. Larger and larger agencies large enough to be the United States government, their relationship to debt is different than your household. In your house, you only have the money you have. You cannot print more money. That's illegal. Sorry about it. So you have to deal with what you actually get. And so, yeah, you have to be able to manage your bills with what you actually get. It'd be nice if the government did that as well. However, what we tend to forget is not everything you have is paid for, boo. If you have a mortgage, you are in debt. If you have a car loan, you are in debt. If you have student loans, you are in debt. So if you have those things and you say you balance your checkbook, what you're doing is balancing your payments. You're keeping up with your payments. You're not out of debt. But that debt is good debt because it increases your quality of life. Having a house, having a car, being able to have a college degree, those are blessings. A lot of people don't have those. Some people will never have those. So the debt alone is not the issue. It's, are you going into debt to make your life better? And in the case of the stimulus, I say yes. If it helps the American people. Why am I so adamant? Well, besides the fact that I believe it's a social justice thing, and an economic justice thing, and there's a need, my goodness. I mean, we've done what the government asked us to. We shut everything down. No one was ready for that. But now that we've done it, we still gotta eat, y'all. We still have bills to pay. So why am I so happy to go into debt, other than the fact that I think it's the right thing to do, and the fact that if the government's going to ask us to shut down, the government should have a plan to make sure that we stay solvent on the individual level. I actually am one of the people that believe there is never a problem with a government giving its people money. My friends will say, it can reach the point where it becomes extreme. The reason I don't bother with that is because we're never going to have enough money to give everyone in the country $10 million. So worrying about the upper end, I don't think is valid. If that becomes the threat, we'll have a different video that day. But if you're talking about anywhere from $2,000 to $4,000 a month or whatever for our American citizens, I will never have a problem with that, because what happens when you give Americans money? They spend it. Folks, do you own a business? Do you need customers? What do your customers need? Money. When you give most people money, they spend it immediately. People like me, people like most of the people watching this, if you get a check, you're going to spend it. And that's good. That's good, because we are a consumer-based economy. And finally, I want to touch upon the fact that the government is going to spend money. If you're scared of the government spending money, you think that's bad, they're doing it anyway. So now it's a matter of, who do they spend it on? Do we spend it on bombs, or do we spend it on you? That's where we're at. But at the end of the day, right now, because of something that nobody could really control, we need help. Remember, this is emergency circumstances. That's what we're talking about. So in this whole video, I want you to remember emergency circumstances. Once we get over the hump, we can actually go back and fix some of the substantial problems that are the reason why we're scared to spend money. So that's it, folks. That's it, family. That's my spiel. That's the very first episode of PoliWhy. Politics, the government needs to pass a stimulus. Why should you care? Because the only thing they should worry about is whether or not you're making it. So right now, the best thing we can do is pass a stimulus to get us through. This is a bridge loan to ourselves. So here's the ask. If you agree, if you think that the US government should pass a stimulus immediately, share this video. Make it go viral. We already have elected officials fighting for the chance to vote on a stimulus package. But honestly, according to our laws, the House of Representatives writes the budget. They've got to do it. And if you're represented by a Republican senator that's saying no stimulus, write them and say no stimulus, no vote. If you believe we need to have the stimulus, as I believe, just write all of them. All of them, and say two things. You work for me, and if you want my vote, you will pass a stimulus. No stimulus, no vote. This channel needs you to grow. If you like what I have to say, if you want more, you gotta like, you gotta subscribe. I've got so many plans. For those of you who don't know me, I've been working in politics forever. I've lobbied the U.S. Congress. I've lobbied my state house. And I've talked to a lot of people that say they don't understand politics, they don't know how to get into politics. Help them see this channel. We can build this channel into a community that empowers the unestablished. The unestablished. I have no problem with people that have worked all their lives and established themselves in politics. I just recognize that that's a very, very rare thing, and there are other voices that matter too. All right, so like, subscribe, share, do all the YouTube-y things. It can help. If this thing goes viral, if you can get 100 million people writing Congress tomorrow saying no stimulus, no vote, folks, you will have checks the next week. I promise you, that is your power. If you ever felt like you don't have any power in what goes on in your world, that is your power. That's how you influence political power. You don't need to be a super PAC. You don't need to be an oil brother. You don't need to do any of these things. Just tell the people. We're watching, we're listening, we care, and this is about us. No stimulus, no vote. Hashtag no stimulus, no vote. Make it go viral. All right, so if you subscribe to this channel, you're going to have access to all three shows. PoliWhy, World of Mystery, and the World of Marron. On the very first inaugural episode of World of Mystery, we're going to talk about the Isdal woman. And this is a Jane Doe case from about 40 years ago. And I swear to God, it's going to knock your socks off. It's the most amazing thing. And I can't find consensus amongst my friends as to what happened to this poor woman. So I'm going to put it to you. Just the facts, as we know it, and then you come and tell me what you think happened. And on the next episode of PoliWhy, we're going to talk about Biden-Harris. I'm going to go back and watch these speeches, see if they inspire me. You know, Barack and Michelle are going to inspire me. You know that. You know that. You know, that's my people. But I'm going to go back and watch the speeches. I'm going to think hard about this because anyone who knows me knows I'm a Warren Sanders type Democrat. But, you know, I love Joe Biden too. But yeah, Biden-Harris, here we're at. This is it. I have thoughts. I have thoughts. I want to share my thoughts. And more importantly, I want to hear your thoughts because at the end of the day, you need to be happy with your candidates. And if they're not your candidate, you're voting Republican, tell me why. But yeah, please, tell me why. So be ready for that. And for the interview, the very first inaugural interview on PoliWhy, we're going to have White House staffer, former Obama White House staffer, and current chair of the King County Democrats, Ms. Shasti Conrad. She's going to talk to us about her time in the White House, knowing Joe Biden to whatever degree she knew the vice president, because she worked in the White House. Did I mention she worked in the White House? So she has some insight as to her thoughts on Biden-Harris and why it matters to you. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about, you know, what we can do about that. If for some reason you are less than satisfied or feel like somehow your values have got left behind, remember, PoliWhy is about why you should care and how you can empower yourself. But again, if you want to know when you can see Maria, you've got to like and subscribe. All right, family, that's it for now. We're just going to start, make it easy. Again, no stimulus, no vote. Let's do this. Good night. Peace. And be kind. I don't know why people are complaining about wearing masks. I love this mask. I feel like I look like the Winter Soldier.